Welcome to Royal Secret. Today Queen Margaret of Denmark have finally revealed King Frederik and Queen Mary never had a coronation. The world of royalty often dazzles with its glittering ceremonies, its carefully choreographed traditions, and the power of symbols that stretch across centuries. Yet every so often, a surprising break in tradition becomes the story of the day, shaking both devoted monarchists and casual observers into questioning what lies behind palace walls. Such was the case in Denmark, where Queen Margrethe II, after more than half a century on the throne, stunned the world by abdicating in favor of her son, now King Frederik X, and his Australian-born wife, Queen Mary. But in the days following this historic transition, one burning question echoed not just across Denmark, but internationally: why did Frederik and Mary not receive a coronation like King Charles III of the United Kingdom? For many, the coronation of King Charles in 2023, complete with crowns, scepters, golden carriages, ancient rituals, and sacred oaths, felt like a spectacle straight out of history books. It was televised worldwide, drawing millions of viewers who marveled at the centuries-old ceremony that ties the British monarchy to the very fabric of its nation. Denmark, however, offered a strikingly different picture. There were no glittering crowns placed upon the heads of Frederik and Mary, no elaborate religious rituals broadcast for hours on end. Instead, what unfolded was far simpler, more modern, and quintessentially Danish. It was Queen Margrethe herself who has now finally shed light on why this was so, and her explanation is as fascinating as it is telling of the way the Danish royal family sees its role in today's world. To understand this decision, one must step back into the history of Denmark's monarchy, one of the oldest in the world. The Danish royal family traces its lineage back over 1,000 years, with roots in Viking-age rulers. Yet unlike the United Kingdom, which fiercely preserves its medieval coronation tradition in Westminster Abbey, Denmark moved away from such rituals long ago. The last coronation in Denmark took place in 1840, for King Christian VIII. Since then, Danish monarchs have not been crowned in the traditional sense, but instead proclaimed from the balcony of Christiansborg Palace in Copenhagen, where the people and parliament formally recognize the new sovereign. This choice is not accidental. It reflects Denmark's long commitment to constitutional monarchy and its desire to emphasize the people's role in legitimizing their king or queen. When Queen Margrethe abdicated, the transition was swift but deeply symbolic. On January 14, 2024, in the Council of State at Christiansborg Palace, she signed her abdication, marking the end of her reign. The Prime Minister then formally proclaimed Frederik as King Frederik X from the balcony, with Mary by his side as the new queen. The crowds erupted in cheers, flags waved across Copenhagen, and a new chapter in Danish history began, without a crown being placed on anyone's head. Queen Margrethe, known for her candor and sharp intellect, explained why there was no coronation. She pointed out that Danish monarchy is built not on elaborate displays of divine right, but on the modern principle of constitutional authority. To her, Denmark does not need the dramatic trappings of crowns, jewels, and rituals to affirm the monarchy's place in the nation. Instead, it is the trust of the people and the recognition by the government that makes a monarch legitimate. Her words carried weight, as she had herself reigned for 52 years with a deep awareness of tradition yet an instinct for modernity. This is not to say that symbolism was absent. Queen Mary, born Mary Donaldson in Tasmania, captured global attention with her poise, elegance, and warmth on the balcony. Many Danes saw her as the perfect reflection of their monarchy's evolution, not a distant, untouchable figure draped in jewels, but a modern woman with an international background, grounded in values of service and relatability. The very absence of a coronation underscored this point. The Danish royal family was choosing substance over spectacle, a gesture that resonated in an age where monarchy must constantly justify its relevance. Comparisons to King Charles's coronation were inevitable. Charles's crowning was deeply rooted in history and religion, involving the sacred anointing ceremony unseen by cameras, the iconic St. Edward's crown, and pageantry that stretched across London. It was a display designed to remind the world of the continuity and grandeur of the British monarchy. For Denmark, however, such a display might have seemed outdated, even excessive, given the nation's social and political climate. Denmark prides itself on equality, modesty, and the close connection between the monarchy and the people. In a society where even royals ride bicycles and attend relatively unguarded public events, a grand coronation could have risked alienating citizens rather than inspiring them. Queen Margrethe made it clear that the Danish monarchy's survival has always depended on adaptability. In her view, pomp and ritual might enthrall the outside world, but at home, it is the monarchy's closeness to the people that ensures its relevance. She highlighted how Denmark's constitution defines the monarchy not as a divine institution but as a symbolic one, rooted in service to the nation. For her, the balcony proclamation, with thousands gathered in Copenhagen, was more powerful than any crown or scepter. This decision also reflects Denmark's relationship with religion. While the British coronation is fundamentally a religious ceremony, conducted by the Archbishop of Canterbury and infused with Christian symbolism, Denmark's monarchy, though still tied to the evangelical Lutheran Church, treats religion less ceremonially in public life. For Queen Margrethe, who herself was a devout Christian but a modern thinker, a religiously infused coronation did not align with the contemporary values of Denmark. Instead, the proclamation highlighted national unity rather than religious ritual. For King Frederik and Queen Mary, this beginning was perfectly fitting. Frederik, often described as a down-to-earth royal who loves sports, sailing, and connecting with citizens, has long prepared for a role that demands modernity. Mary, with her remarkable journey from ordinary citizen in Australia to Queen of Denmark, embodies relatability on a global stage. Their accession without a coronation set the tone for a reign that will be less about spectacle and more about substance, reflecting the modest elegance that Danes admire. The choice also highlights a fascinating difference in how monarchies across Europe approach tradition. In Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, coronations have long been abandoned in favor of proclamations and blessings, reflecting a shift toward democracy and away from divine imagery. In the Netherlands, monarchs are inaugurated rather than crowned, focusing on parliamentary recognition. Britain stands almost alone in holding on to coronation ceremonies that emphasize the monarch's sacred role. Queen Margrethe's explanation places Denmark firmly in the camp of progressive monarchies, ones that adjust traditions to fit the times rather than preserve them unchanged. As the new royal couple settles into their reign, the absence of a coronation may ironically become one of their greatest strengths. It shows that they do not need gilded crowns to command respect. Instead, they rely on authenticity, service, and connection to the people. Queen Mary's warm smile on that balcony, Frederik's heartfelt speech, and the cheers of the crowds were coronation enough for Denmark. Yet, the contrast cannot be overstated. For many around the world, monarchy is defined by glittering crowns and opulent rituals. Denmark's simplicity challenged those assumptions. Some international commentators even wondered if this was too modest, questioning whether Denmark missed an opportunity to showcase its royal heritage to the world. But Queen Margrethe's explanation silenced much of that debate. Denmark's monarchy exists for the Danish people, not for global spectacle. And if the people are content with a balcony proclamation, then that is more than enough. As history marches forward, this moment will likely be remembered not as a lack of something, but as a powerful symbol of Denmark's unique royal character. The day Frederik and Mary were proclaimed may not have had a crown, but it had something far greater, the heartfelt embrace of a nation that trusts its monarchy. And so the story continues, with King Frederik and Queen Mary stepping into their roles with dignity and humility, guided by the wisdom of Queen Margrethe, who reminded us all that monarchy is not defined by jewels or rituals, but by the enduring bond between sovereign and people. But as Europe watches this new reign unfold, one question lingers in the air. Will the simplicity of Denmark's royal traditions become the model for the future of monarchy, or will the glittering pageantry of coronations like King Charles's continue to dominate the imagination of the world? So, what do you think? Is Denmark's modest proclamation a stronger symbol of modern royalty than a grand coronation? Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more royal insights and stories.